He would use them to put specifically at a location in the field so that he could leave a copy of this slip and notify that particular person at that specific area of the property that something was found of notability. It also is used as a security officer's tool to let a particular suite or particular client know that you found their door unlocked or something from the abnormal to the normal, to assure that you in fact were there and report the times that you were there so that management knows that you are in fact doing your job. Again, review this little sheet as well as you do your basic documentation with your daily log. It's just as important that you sign your name. Put your division if you have one that you're reporting to on site. Be sure that the date is there and be sure that you're clear. And always remember, never use jargon in any of your reports. Always speak clearly. Never try to overdo yourself by saying, I, so-and-so Officer Jones, therefore responded to thus seen and helped, so on and so forth. It gets confusing. Even management can't keep up with it. When it's time to write a report and document in your log, say it in plain and simple language. Once more, we talked about in your mind's eye the word report. Do not forget that, R-E-P-O-R-T. And if any time you have a question, remember, there's only one type of a wrong question. That's one you neglect to ask.
There really is a lot to concentrate on in good report writing. Thank you, Jeff. Now we are going to join the panel session, as we will several times during this training tape. The panel will be going over some of the previous points we have just seen. Now, this panel is comprised of 3 security business professionals. Jeff Kirby, from whom we just heard. Jeff's been in the security business for years. Paul Dockendorf. Paul is a local security business owner of many years and has served 2 terms as president of the Washington State Security Council. And Dr. William Kottringer is a national security business manager. He is an instructor at the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Center. Bill has also served as president of the Washington State Security Council.
Paul, you've read many security reports. What are some of the things that you'd like to see emphasized in a good security officer's report?
Well, the first thing you need to do is use pen and write legibly. Write down only the facts, and if there's a witness involved, get their names, address, and phone number.
Good. Bill, on the other side of the coin, what are some of the things you have seen in some of the more poor security reports?
Well, reports that say only all secure, all secure, all secure really don't contain any helpful information. Reports that aren't submitted promptly or to the client as required to miss the mark. And any serious incident deserves a very well-organized, objective report. And when it's not written that way, it definitely causes me heartburn.
That's very good.
Jeff, by the way, did you just happen to notice that vehicle that was driving behind you in the segment you were doing on poor reports earlier?
As a matter of fact, I did catch it out of the corner of my eye, Bill. That was a 4-door silver, late model, import type car. In fact, it had a rather strange looking little triangle-shaped flag on the antenna. I was trying to figure out what that was. Driver was wearing a blue coat and looked to be about, I don't know, 200 pounds, something like that. But, you know, I'm glad you mentioned it because it really does bring up a good situation. No matter what you're doing, you've always got to be concentrating on what's going on around you at all times. Not just what you're doing when you're writing a report, but what's going on around you everywhere. Paul, what would you say about how a security officer could best assist the police?
Well, the first thing is make clear and accurate reports, and then secondly, don't overstep your bounds.
Thanks. Bill, observation skills are really important. What could you give advice to each security officer to help improve their observing capabilities?
Always get plenty of rest before going to work, exercise daily, eat a good diet, and whenever you get drowsy, stand up and walk around.
That makes good sense. It really does. And I'd like to conclude this segment of the training session with a message to each patrol officer. You're going to be going to various types of sites, many different sites during the course of your duties each day. Don't make the mistake that many patrol officers do by pulling right up to the site, jumping out of their patrol vehicle, and running right straight to the front door. Be a professional. When you arrive to your site, stop, look, listen. Take a moment as you get out of your patrol vehicle to acclimate yourself to the environment around you. Then proceed in the most professional manner to inspect the site. It's good for your safety, that of the client, and that of your company.
As we conclude each of the 4 sections, we will be giving a test. So if you haven't already, get out a pencil and a piece of paper now. All of the questions are multiple choice. I'll read over each one and then list the options. I'll give you a chance to answer, and then I will announce the correct answer. Let's begin. Question number 1. Good observation involves A, being alert to changes, B, varying your routine, C, proper rest and diet, D, all of the above. The correct answer is D, all of the above. On to number 2. Your first patrol on any shift is important because A, it provides a standard of comparison for later patrols. B, it prevents thefts. C, people will notice you more then. D, you are less observant on later patrols. The correct answer is A. Question 3. Which of the following would you not include in an incident report? A, who, what, where, when, why, how. B, slang, opinions, alterations. C, action you took. D, important things needing follow-up. The correct answer is B. Next question. While patrolling the outside of a building, you discover an intruder trying to break and enter into the entrance. Upon seeing you, the person runs. What should you do? A, chase after him and try to tackle him. B, throw a brick at him. C, get a good description, call the police, secure the site, and write a report. D, write a report and notify the client the next day. The correct answer there is C. And finally, a security guard's written reports should be A, clear, neat, and legible. B, accurate, complete, and timely. C, signed. D, all of the above. The correct answer is D. Hope you did well on that first quiz. And this now concludes the first segment of our training. You may, if you wish, stop the VCR and get up, stretch your legs, take up to a 10-minute break. Remember to return immediately and begin segment 2 of your training. Also, feel free to rewind this tape at any time. This break is a good time to ask your certified training instructor or your supervisor any questions you might have. Enjoy your break. We are now ready to begin segment 2 of your training. Remember to keep a pen and paper handy for taking good notes throughout your training and instruction. During this segment, we'll be looking at the legal aspects of security. Then we will be spending some time talking about the primary role of security, some tasks and assignments which will be described in a typical interview type setting. And just before the panel session, we'll be looking at ways we can all avoid legal liability. We are now going to hear about legal powers and limitations. Dr. William Kottringer will be interviewing Mr. Leo Port, Legal Advisor, Office of the Chief for the City of Seattle.
Mr. Port, generally speaking, what authority do security officers have?
Security officers' authority is defined pretty much in common law, but the short answer to that question is that they have the authority, the same as you and I would, to apprehend someone for the commission of a crime. The only additional authority defined for a security officer comes from the fact that he or she is employed by someone who owns property and has an interest in having a security officer be an extension of the property that's owned or the interest that's being protected. Other than that, their authority is the same as yours and mine as a private citizen.
How would you differentiate between the authority police officers have and that the private security officers have?
Well, the primary difference between a police officer's job, first of all, and a security officer's job lies in the fact that a police officer has a primary mission of keeping the peace for the public at large. A security officer is going to have the principal duty of protecting a particular client, usually a property owner or someone who has an interest to be protected. In one sense, they're the same. They're basically hired to confront people in certain circumstances, enforce rules, and to take care of the business that, in one case, the public is asking a police officer to do, or in another case, the private interest is asking a security officer to do. The security officer has the managerial authority which is given to them by the property owner. The police officer has the authority to do much more because the public at large is asking them to keep the peace, to arrest people for the commission of a crime, and to do some other things that are pretty unusual, like use of force to apprehend someone in the commission of a crime, and that's different than a security officer would have.
What exactly is a citizen's arrest, and when can a security officer make such an arrest?
A citizen's arrest is principally defined as a stop of a person where both the person being stopped and the one making the stop understands that that person is not free to go. The essence of a citizen's arrest is that it is made by a private person rather than someone who is an official or representing a governmental agency. A security guard then has the same authority that you and I do as citizens to make an arrest. It's limited. It's not well protected in the law because it's discouraged. But it is possible to have a citizen's arrest, especially when you have a felony situation where the person making the arrest is trying to protect another person. Beyond that ultimate goal of protecting someone, the continued detention of someone through an arrest is completely discouraged, and it should, if any detention is going to occur, it should involve the police immediately. And that's why we, in working with security guards, tell them if you're going to detain someone, call the police as soon as possible under all circumstances where that may be permitted.
How does detain and arrest differ?
Well, detention actually is authorized in law in this state where you're a security guard working for a store. When you detain someone, it is usually temporary. It is usually for the purposes of, as in a security guard working at a store, retrieving some private property or obtaining some goal of apprehending someone for some violation of law against private property. A detention, again, is temporary. It is one that accomplishes a specific purpose and should always be limited in its scope.
What can a security officer do if he or she is attempting to detain a suspect until the police get there and the suspect doesn't want to stay?
First thing I would keep in mind as a security guard is that my principal duty is to prevent the further destruction of property or harm to my employer as the number one goal. In order to do that successfully, you don't want to continue any kind of altercation with this person beyond stopping them from doing destruction or from stealing property in the case of a security guard at a store. If you're going to do any kind of detention beyond that and risk an altercation, you're really going to lose ground, because all of a sudden, as a private citizen, you lose the authority that a police officer would have. By contrast, when that police officer can use force to detain someone and bring them into custody, security guard really doesn't have that additional authority. Beyond protecting the property of the employer, they really don't have much authority at all in that area.
When can a private security officer search a citizen?
The usual answer is never. However, there are certain circumstances where a citizen would consent to display something where there's a question about ownership, or there's a question about whether the property involved that they may have on their person is theirs or belongs to a private person. But if they refuse to disclose what's in their pocket or disclose what they have on their person, they may do that, and they may do that without much penalty.
When can a security officer seize property?
When the security guard is absolutely sure that the property that they have on view belongs to their employer, and they have been authorized by their employer to seize that property if, under the circumstances, it belongs to them,